Ask your parents to think back and name their favourite arcade game. Probably, maybe Space Invaders might be the one that they would name. Well, we're going to recreate that game. Basically, it's a little ship that you can move left and right with, and these little sort of spacecrafts, aliens, will come down the screen. Actually, they also fire at you as well. What we're going to do is we're going to try to recreate that. Now, if you've ever seen the game, you'll notice that the background is black. So we're going to need to start with doing a black background. Now, if I click on the stage and then go to the background tab, and I'm going to edit this one, I'm going to change the white to black. Use the bucket tool. Now it's already on black. I'm going to click fill. In fact, this is very similar to paint. Click OK. So I've now got a black background. Now I'm going to need some graphics, and to save you time, what I've done is I've put some graphics online which you can download. You'll notice that there appears to be nothing in the invaders. Well, that's because they are white characters. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select sprite 1, and I've got my cat. Now remember, the cross deletes them. Now I could import a graphic, or because I'm a little bit lazy, what I'm going to do is, while that's selected, I'm going to pick up my ship and drag it in, and now you will notice that one of the costumes is a ship. So if I get rid of the cat, that leaves me with the ship only. Now let's put this somewhere on the bottom. So the first thing I need to do is really to get this to move left and right. Now we're going to need to use some controls on this one. So I'll click on Control. So when a key is pressed, it makes sense really for the right arrow key to be pushed. Then I want it to move to the right. Now on the motion, I could do this using X. Thinking about coordinates and maths, X is generally left and right, but another way, just being quite quick at the moment, is to use this move. Now move 10 steps will actually move it to the right. So if I now push the right arrow, you will notice that it does move to the right. Now I think 10 steps is probably too many, so let's just change that to 5. Now of course I'm going to want the left arrow key to do something similar. So I've got left, and let's move 5 steps to the left. So now, oops. Now of course when I move the left arrow, you'll notice it's still moving to the right, and the reason for that is it's moving 5 steps. Both of them are moving 5 steps to the right. This one here, to move the opposite way, I want to effectively go backwards if I wanted to go to the left. So I'm going to have to make that -5. So now when I try it, you can see that holding down the left arrow key goes left, holding down the right arrow key goes right. What I do is to create some form of laser to shoot out the top of my little ship here. Now there are a couple of ways to do this. I could find a sprite that's already been created, or I can choose to create my own, and that's what I'm going to do here. Now I'm going to change to white, and then a little line. I might just change the thickness of my line as well, and then somewhere in the center of the screen I'm going to draw a tiny little line, which you probably can't even see on the screen. But if I now click OK, you should see something appear just here, and that's what I'm going to have. I'm going to have this, if I can pick it up, I'm going to have this effectively fire out the top. That's what I'm going to try to do anyway. So what shall I do now? Well, what I want to do is I want to have a little bit of control, and perhaps have it so that when the space bar is pushed, it's going to fire up the screen. So when the space bar key is actually pressed, what do I want it to do? Well, I'm going to want it to do something 10 times. Let's start with 10. I'm not going to want it to do it forever. I only want it to go up the screen. So I'm going to get it to repeat 10 times, and I'm going to get it to go up. Now, thinking back, X is left and right, and Y is up and down. So if I get it to go up, now that's going to involve changing Y. If I change it 10 pixels, so now when I push the space bar, it does go up. It goes up 10 times, and it repeats 10 times. Now 10 is probably not enough. I need to get it to go right to the top of the screen. So if I try 30, repeat it 30 times, and then I hit the spacebar, you should see almost gets there. So maybe 35, something like that, should do it. Now unfortunately, at the moment, if I pick this bullet up, well, it's tiny, it's difficult, press the space, I need it to position itself by the ship first of all. So one of the things that I can get it to do is to go to my little ship. Now the options are, well, the mouse, no point of you having it following the mouse around. Instead I want it to go to sprite 1, which is my little ship here. Now I want it to do that before it actually fires. So now when I push the spacebar, you will see it coming out of the ship itself, which is quite nice. Now if I wanted to slow it down, maybe I would change Y by something a bit smaller, but I would have to increase the number of repeats. If I want to speed it up, then of course I could increase the 10, but actually that's quite a nice speed. Is to add some aliens. Now, to make life a little bit easier, if I go back to sort of my graphics, I've got 3, in fact actually I've got 4 invaders that I can actually choose from. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this invader here. Now, best thing to do is to go and choose a graphic from file. Now, if you can, then find where you've downloaded these and stored them. I'm going to choose this one here. So I've now got one little alien, and the idea is that I'm going to be able to have him move. Actually, I think probably that way. Maybe move down, come across, move down, come across, move down. All the time I can try to fire at him. So I want him to move from left and right. So the next thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to, well, how far do I get it to move each time? Well, I'm going to set a variable, and I make one. What I want to do is I want to have maybe some form of direction that I want it to go to, and obviously to start with, when I click on the green flag, how far do I actually want it to go? Well, I'm going to want it to start, let's say, if we say everything moves to the right to start with, now how far am I going to get it to move? Let's say 10 to start with. And I'm now going to create some form of loop, and it's probably better to have, what shall I have? Probably, yeah, well, we could always change it, but let's try a forever loop. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it to move, and I think I'm going to get it to move 10 steps each time. Well, what I'm actually going to get it to do is I'm going to get it to move whatever direction it is. So rather than having it as a 10, what I can do is I can pick up direction and place it in here. So now it's going to move however many steps direction happens to be. And of course direction is 10. So if I now click on this, you will see him flying off to the edge, which is quite nice. Now of course, problem is that when he gets to the end, I do want him to come down and come back the other way. So how am I going to do just that? Well, I think I'm going to need an if here, and certainly if, I think a couple of things are going to be true really here. I should just, yeah, so if, actually let's move this out, let's put this in here. So it's going to keep moving, and I've got this if. So if it actually gets to the right hand side, so in other words, if I'm going to need an operator here, in other words, if it goes over this side, so if x is greater than, I don't know, say 200, then I know it's going off the screen. So that's here. So if is greater than 200, now I want it to be the x. Remember, x is left and right. So let's find x. Now, in fact, what I can do is just for temporarily, I can tick this, and what it'll do is it'll show me how far it is across the screen. So I'm going to just pick up this X position. So if X is greater than 200, then I know it's gone too far to the right. In fact, if I just pick this up and hit play, well, where's 200? 200 is about here. So actually, it's not too bad. So if it goes over 200, what I want to do is I want it to change direction. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, I can be quite clever, and I can say, well, set direction to -10. So basically what happens now, whoops, if it goes, so I now hit go, green flag, it goes to the right, and then it comes straight back again. Of course, I'd need to do something very similar, so that if it ever goes to the left, it's going to change direction again. So I'm going to need another if. Same thing here, I've got these operators. So if it's less than, that's the less than sign here. So if the X position, so that's the same thing. That's going to be out of motion. So if the X position is less than -200, and we'll just check that in a second. If that is true, then flip it back again, because assuming that I'm moving to the left. So I'm going to set a direction, this time back to +10. So let's move that to there. Whoops. Okay, don't know what I just did. Let's stop that. I think I've now just made a complete mess of it. What have I done? Yep. Okay, I think so. Now it's going to go bouncing backwards and forwards. In fact, I would say it's probably going too fast. It's also not only going too fast, but it might be moving and not enough. Let's just change it. So let's get it to slow down. Now, one of the things you can do is you get it to wait for an amount of time. So if I just slip that into there, it's now waiting 1 second before it moves, which is not too bad. I think it could possibly move a bit further. So maybe 10 might not be the correct speed. So let's change that to 20. That to 20, and that to -20. So now, let's hit the green flag again. So now it's moving a bit further. Actually, that's quite nice. So the idea is now I can try to find it and then shoot it. That's quite nice. I've got to predict where it is. It gets to the end. What I wanted to do is I wanted to actually move down a bit. So what I'm going to do is, as well as setting the direction to revert, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it to move down. Now that's Y. So I'm going to get it to change Y by 10. Now, of course, if I change it by 10, it's going to go up the screen. It's not quite what I want to do. What I want to do is I want it to come down the screen. Now, I'm not quite sure by how far. That may be a bit by trial and error. Now, I'm going to want it to do when it gets to the end of the right. I'm also going to want it to do when it gets to the left as well. Now, here is a quite crafty way. Is rather than creating this a number of times, I can right-click over it and duplicate it. And I can create this. This can save a little bit of time. So here I'm now going to just get it to change Y by -25. Do that. So now when I click go, it should now get to the end and it should come down. Let's just check that's true. Now you notice when it got to the end, it did actually move across slightly. It didn't come down straight away. Now the reason probably for that is I need to get it to also move one more step pretty quickly. In fact, if I just take that move out, again I'm being lazy here because I'm going to right click and duplicate this and duplicate it again. So let me put that back in here. Now you notice you've got to wait 1 second before you actually move. In fact, if I move that there and then wait at the end, I wonder if that would actually do it. So let's start. Now it still again moves it down, so I will have to pop these. So changing the direction, I'm going to have to pop these inside here as well. So now green flag, get it start moving. So I'm hoping now that when it gets to the end, it will actually come down straight away. That's better. I like that. Perfect. Now you'll notice these things up here are actually quite handy because I can see the direction is -20, and of course I've got the sprite position. These are quite handy when you're actually building it, but generally throughout the game you probably don't really need to have those visible. So what I can do is I can untick those. So that's the sprite position. So if I go to sprite 3, go to motion, I can untick the X position. I don't really need to see them, but from time to time they can be quite handy when I'm developing the game. Now the next thing is I want to maybe have a score. So I'm going to create a variable here, and let's make it my score. Now I am going to want that visible. I think every time I hit the actual ship, let's increase it by a little bit. So the best thing to do here is probably this sprite here. If it ever touches sprite 2, then increase the score. Now I could add more to this, but very quickly you can see that this is starting to get a little bit confusing, and certainly if a few days pass and I came back to this, this might not make quite the same amount of sense as it does now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have another control, and again I'm going to get it to repeat forever, which is exactly the same. So really what I'm doing is saving myself from putting these things inside here, making this even more confusing. So when this is clicked, if we ever find that it's actually touching sprite 2, then I want it to hide. So let's see if it's actually hitting. So where's the touching? It's normally under sensing, I think. Yep, so sensing here. You've got if it's actually touching. Excuse me. Excuse me. If it's ever touching sprite 2, that's the missile, then of course I want it to hide. Now, so I'm going to need an if here. So if it's ever touching sprite 2, then I want it to hide. So that's going to be under looks. Where's the hide? There we are. So I now place that inside there. So if it's ever touching it, actually let's take out the hide for a second. What do I want it to do is I want it to actually increase the score. So let's change, well, it's not direction, it's the score by, let's give them 10 points. So now when I play the game, every time I fire and hit, I've now got 10 points. Actually, I think because it hit it more than once. Let's try again. Ooh, it's actually giving me 40 points because I think it obviously passes through it more than once. Okay, so that's so the score's working. Now, of course, I've got one alien. Really, I could do with a few more aliens as well. In fact, one of the things that you'll notice, I've got one sprite here. I'm going to start duplicating and have loads of aliens. But before I do, to make my life a little bit easier, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add the other sort of invaders as well as costumes. You can see I've just dragged them in here. So now you will see I've got 3 different costumes. So I'm going to select, keep it on that one. Now what I can do is I can right click over this and duplicate it. So I've got sprite number 4. Now of course sprite number 4 is identical, but if I just hit the green flag, just hit then stop, I can now pick these up and I can position them where I would like, and maybe have it so that I duplicate another one. Let's have that. Maybe another one. Just positioning those. In fact, if I now duplicated some more, get carried away here, maybe put to next row. Duplicate. I think you'll get the idea. I won't spend too long doing these. In fact, let me just do some more. Let's put it onto here. Now, of course, the good thing is with this is I could have it so that these ones maybe sort of look different. So let's go to that sprite. Let's get this right. Which one's this? So if I choose that one, then that one. So these are my top row. Then the next one, maybe choose that. Then this one, choose that. So I could have a range of different aliens. Now, if I hit go, you can see that they move across quite nicely. The only thing is, when I fire, I think I can actually take out all of them. So that's one slight bug that I do need to fix. Now, when I get to the end, they do come down. Well, one did. You noticed. No, this is not the true game. Whoops. Now, I could have lots of fun here, but let me just see what happens here. Now, they didn't actually come down. I'm going to need to have a look at that. But you can see that I can now fire at these. But at least cloning them, I can get lots more on the screen very, very quickly. Let's hit the alien. Really, the alien itself should disappear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to this hide that I put in just a moment ago. So I'm going to hide that. So I'm going to change the score, and then I'm going to hide it. Now, in fact, when I click on this, you will see that I fire, and now it's gone. So I've got a point. Now, notice the other thing is when I click on the green flag, it's not coming back. Now, the reason for that is I've not got it to view it. Now I've hid the thing. But when I do the green flag, I really need it to actually show the alien. So now when I click on the green flag, it appears again. I can now fire at it. Oops. The other thing, of course, is the score. That's although it's going up, it's not actually resetting. So maybe I also need to, as well as showing my alien again, what I need to do is just set. So I've shown it, and just set the actual score back to 0. So when I hit the green flag, the score is now 0, which you can see, and when I hit the alien, it disappears. Now, the last thing, which I'd probably class as basic, is to maybe add some sound for the actual bullet or the laser. In fact, we can have sounds, and what you can do is you can say play a particular sound that you like. The other thing you can also do is to choose lots of different sounds. So we've got effects. Maybe not. That's electronic. Oh, I've got lasers. I've actually got lasers here. That's quite nice. So I'm going to add that to my list of sounds. If I go back to script, you'll notice rather than having nothing there, I've now got my own sound laser. So what I can do is now hold that, and then when I then hit play, I've now got a little laser. Now you'll also notice that the game, only one of them is actually reaching the end, so only one of them will actually move down. I'm going to show you an advanced video which now sort of takes care of this.